chat. Go ahead, join the Nearpod. Remember, this session will be recorded in case somebody wants to review this lesson again, or they need to go over a question, while they're taking the quiz. So this is a recorded session. And we will move on to question 3, version 3. This is where we had stopped last time, that is yesterday. Let's go ahead and see. So this is question 2, and another 2. This is question 3, first one we did yesterday. This is question 3, another version we did yesterday. This is where we had stopped yesterday. We pick up here, right? Let's go ahead, get started. I know you guys are in Nearpod because I see all your slides up here. Link to the Nearpod is in the chat if you haven't joined yet. Get started. I was describing yesterday how question 1 and question 2 had some easier numbers. Very good, Ayani. Very proud of you. As you move towards question 3, and then question 4, and then question 5, the numbers will be more complex. The concept is still the same. Very good, Ben. I see how you are solving it. Excellent, excellent. Angelina, very good. Elijah, slide needs to be active. JJ, very good. I feel very happy that you are active. Johnny, slide needs to be active so I can give you feedback as you are solving. I will also get started for those who need some help getting started. I will go ahead, split it into 2 parts. Then, okay, where is Fatu? Fatu hasn't joined Nearpod yet? Okay. She's the one who would always type out those notes over here. I'm going to go ahead do my notes here. First, I'm going to go see the constant and get rid of the constant. Next, I will identify the coefficient. I will get rid of the coefficient. The coefficient also tells me if I will flip the inequality symbol or not. Negative coefficient, flip. Positive coefficient, do not flip the inequality symbol. Okay? Here are some notes that we always take as we answer these questions. Constant is the number that is by itself. In this question, it is negative 3.1. To get rid of this, because I see like a negative 3.1, I can also say minus 3.1. I will do the inverse operation. I will undo a minus 3.1 by adding 3.1 on both sides. So let's add 3.1 on both sides. And on this side also. It is important that you line up the numbers. In this way, you will not mess up with the adding 3.1. And let's see, after adding 3.1 to both sides, how does that look like? So, oh, that is not a good line. Okay, a minus 3.1 and a plus 3.1 becomes 0. And on the left side, I'm left with negative 1.5x is less than 8.6. 5.5 plus 3.1 should give you 8.6. Then go ahead, think about the next step. In the meanwhile, I'm going to check the work of those who have completed the questions. Angelina and JJ. I'm going to go ahead and check your work. And this one was an ongoing number. Angelina, very good. How will you show ongoing, Angelina? I agree to your answer, but go ahead, show me the ongoing. Ben is still solving. JJ, I would say reconsider. If you show me more steps, JJ, I can give you a better feedback. Johnny, show me some steps. Elijah, very good. But Elijah, I want to see the inequality symbol. Emiliano, okay. I'm not doing quiz 2.09 right now. You can focus on your work. I'm not going to expect you to give us responses. So you can do the work. Okay. Elijah, remember I'm waiting to see the inequality symbol between x and the answer. I agree to your answer. Very good with that. In this question, the coefficient is the number that has the variable. Therefore, coefficient is negative 1.5. When coefficient is negative, in your final answer, you are expected to flip. You're expected to flip the inequality symbol. Ayani, I cannot talk to that. I don't even know which one, like Ben. So yes, I will flip the symbol when I'm going to get the answer in the final step. I divide both sides by negative 1.5 so that I can get x by itself. I use a fraction bar to show division. I will divide by negative 1.5. Very likely on my assessments, I'm not going to give you these kind of weird numbers. Okay, JJ, I got you. JJ, it seemed like you were not active in one of recently this week in my live classes. If you've got questions, you can pause me and ask JJ. These are the different steps that we will do. I'm still going to do around 6 more questions. If you will pay attention, hopefully it will make sense to you and you will understand it. Okay, JJ, let me know in the chat if you heard me. And Victoria, calculation errors there. Once you divide both sides by negative, oh, I got you, JJ. Once you divide both sides by negative 1.5, negative 1.5 divided by negative 1.5 is 1. Then you get 1x, or I can say x. Because my coefficient is negative 1.5, I flip the symbol. It is right now less than. It will become greater than. And 8.6 divided by a negative number will give you a negative answer. Right? It is a negative answer. Elijah, see, this is the symbol I want you to see. X should be greater than. And the answer is 5.73 ongoing. So, Angelina, when 3 is ongoing, how will you show that? You put a bar on top of the 3. 7.3333 ongoing. That is good, Emiliano. That is a good thing. Okay. Any questions before I move on? JJ, look at my work. Let me know if there are questions. The next one, I'm going to start from start. And you can follow along and see if... Okay, no problem, Nina. Thank you for replying back. There you go. Elijah, I didn't yet see an inequality symbol on your work. Let's look at question 4. This is how question 4 will look like. It will also have some fractions. And as you guys solve, I'm going to do my part. I'm going to start setting up my slide. I'm going to split this into 2 equal parts. So what I do on one, I can do to the other side also. I'm going to write my notes. This time I plan to write it on this side, left side, because there's so much more room. And I'm going to go ahead, say step 1, think about what is my constant. Step 2, I'm going to think about what is my coefficient, the number that is with the x. Next, I'm going to see if I have to flip the inequality symbol or not. Okay? These are the 3 things that I will do. If anybody needs link to the Nearpod, I will flip, London says. London, can you hop on the mic and tell us why did you decide we have to flip?
We have to flip because the coefficient is negative.
Very good. Very good. And I also like how London is using her vocabulary words. London says this coefficient, the number that is with the variable, is negative, and that tells you that you will flip your inequality symbol, negative 4/3. So yes, please flip. And in this question, the constant is the number that is by itself. In this one, it is 1/6 is constant. Remember to solve the constant first. So I see plus 1/6. To undo it, I will go ahead and subtract 1/6 from both sides. And I will subtract 1/6. Okay, and let's see how does that look like. I'm going to make a common denominator for 7/6 minus 1/6. It is important to make common denominators. Okay, you cannot solve without a common denominator. You cannot subtract. I'm going to write a note so that it will remind you. We want here common denominator. We want a common denominator. And let's see how, okay, let's go ahead and bring it over here and we can find the common denominator. So the numbers are 9 and 6. I'm going to go write down multiples of 6. Multiples of 6 are 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, right? And then multiples of 9, I have 9, 18, and 9 times 3 is 27, and then 9 times 4 is 36. Oh, I stopped at the common number. You guys see which one is the common number? Right? 36 is the common number and this is the least common number. So this is the new denominator that I will have. Very good, Emiliano and London, for helping me. So the new denominator has to be 36. So let's see. 7/6 will have a denominator of 36. And so 9, how many times to get to 36? I do 9 times 4, right? So I'll do 7 times 4 to get to the numerator. And that gives me a numerator of 28, right? 7 times 4 is 28. The numerator will be 28. Then I will do 1/6 and then I'll change it to a denominator of 36. And how do I do that? I know 6 times 6 is 36. So I will do 1 times 6 and that gives me the numerator 6. And then I can subtract Emiliano, there could be so many other common denominators. Therefore, do you like if I say least common denominator? Does that make more sense, Emiliano? We try to pick the least. There you go. Emiliano maybe wanted to see the word least there. So least common denominator. So we don't have to simplify later. Okay, when we do this part, 1/6 minus 1/6 is a 0. On the left side, you have negative 4/3 x. And then you have the inequality symbol, less than. And 28 minus 6 is 22 over 36. to get rid of negative 4/3, I will divide both sides by negative 4/3. Do you guys agree to that? Let me go ahead and rewrite the negative 4/3 x so that I will have some room to do what I'm planning to do. And I will write down that again so I can do. So and on the left side, we originally had negative 4/3 x. Okay. And to get rid of negative 4/3, I said I will divide it by negative 4/3. Okay. Negative 4/3. What I do to one side, I will also do to the other side. And here is some division with fractions. I will divide this one also by negative 4/3. Now, there will be some amount of work involved. Do you guys remember how to do dividing fractions?
Yes, there's an 18 as the least common denominator.
There's an 18 least common denominator.
Yes.
Look at Miss Syed. Emiliano, thank you. I appreciate you so much. Emiliano, how about I will change this at the very end? Emiliano says least common denominator is 18, Miss Syed. What about others? Anybody guided me? Everybody flew with Miss Syed and they did 36. Thank you, Emiliano, for guiding me. But at this point where I am, Victoria thought of that. Victoria, you should have mentioned. Miss Syed, you went so far. You wrote so many multiples. You are not even writing the 18 down. But there are some people who guided me to 36 and I was so convinced. People, if that happens, you will see if I didn't use the common denominator, least common one, it will work. But preference is to use least. I will erase the word least, Emiliano, because I didn't use the least one. But it will work. Little bit extra work and it will work. Let's go ahead and do this part. Do you guys remember how to divide fractions? Emiliano says he's not in nearpod. Okay, we can use KCF. KCF, let's go ahead, write down. So keep the first fraction, K, right? And that means I can just keep 22 over 36. That is 11 over 18. And then I will change KC. The letter C represents the word change, C. You change this division to a multiplication. And F represents flip, and we will flip the second fraction. Flip, right? And let's see how we will flip it. Flip means the 3 at the top and 4 at the bottom. And remember, it was a negative fraction, so we can keep the negative in our mind. So there is a negative over here. Then there are some numbers that I can really easily simplify. Right? When you are multiplying these fractions, you multiply the two numerators. So I can simplify my 3 and the 36. The negative 3 becomes a negative 1. The 36 becomes 12. Then I can further simplify that 22 and 4 are even numbers. I can also simplify them. 22 becomes 11. 4 becomes 2. Now, when you will multiply, you will end up getting, I will just go ahead and I'm going to see if I can do X. The symbol, I will have to flip. 11 times negative 1 is negative 11. I'm going to go ahead and bold my pen and I'm going to try to write over some of these numbers. So I will have negative 11. And then in the denominator, I have 12 times 2 is 24. This is what I end up getting. Did anybody end up getting something different? Or did you all get this similar negative 11 over 24? Let me go ahead and see. Yes, that is what we got. Negative 11 over 24. This is what we end up getting, right? And please use the correct inequality symbol. Let me know if there's any questions. Emiliano, good question over here. Let me clarify that, Emiliano, on this part. When I simplified the 36 and the 3, I'm highlighting in red. Emiliano, I am simplifying here by 3. And then I simplified 36 also by 3, and therefore I got 12. No, I simplified them by 3. So I end up getting negative 11 over 24. So all of these questions are more for you to practice with fractions and decimals. On my assessments, I'm going to keep it easier than this. Let's go ahead, look at one more. This is question 4, second version. We will look at each of these and hopefully get a better understanding with rational number operations. Remember, rational numbers comes out of the word ratio, and the word ratio means fractions. So we are practicing more with rational numbers, also trying to understand the inequality concepts. Go ahead, people, get started. I'm also starting, but I'm also writing my notes. And I'm going to go ahead, decide what is constant in this problem and what is my coefficient. Then I will also decide my flip the inequality symbol or not. There we are. Let's see how you guys are doing. Very good, Angelina. Ben got started, very good. Victoria got started, very good. Link to the Nearpod is here in the chat. People join and get started. The more people can join, the more I can give you feedback. In this question, the constant is 1/5. And I do see Ben, Victoria, and Angelina, you have started in the right direction. Constant will be 1/5. It is the number that is by itself. To get rid of 1/5, I should subtract both sides by 1/5. Because it is adding, to undo an adding operation, I should subtract both sides by 1/5. And I will subtract this side by 1/5. And let's see how that will look like. I will need common denominators. I know a lot of you guys will be good at the common denominators for this question. Common denominator or least common denominator. The denominators are 20 and 5. I will go write denominators for 5. I have 5, 10, 15, and 20, and so on and so forth. Common denominators for 20 are, the first one is 20 itself. So I find the common number. My common number will be 20. Is that, yep, that's what you guys got. Common denominator is 20. That means I will just change this one to a new denominator of 20, right? And let me know if there are any questions. The first one already has a denominator of 20. So I have 7 over 20 minus the other fraction has to be over 20. So from 5 to a denominator of 20, I actually multiplied this fraction by 4. And the same I will do here in the numerator, times it by 4. And here you got 4 out of 20. And subtraction will become easy. So if you do 7 minus 4, you get 3. So here we have 3 over 20. And I will keep the sign. There's a greater than sign. And my other part that remains plus 1/5 and minus 1/5 is a 0. And I am left with negative 3/5 x. I am going to space that out. Negative 3/5 x. And let's see the coefficient in this question in green. You guys see here, my coefficient, this is the number that is with x, is negative. So you flip the inequality when you are there for the final answer. So negative 3/5 is coefficient. And yes, please do flip because coefficient is negative. To get rid of negative 3/5 and to get x by itself, I am dividing both sides by 3/5. And just a little more added work than other inequalities, but conceptually we are doing the same thing. And divided by negative 3/5. If there are any questions, please let us know so that we can always help you. Johnny, did you get clarified? Okay, now let's see. Negative 3/5 x divided by negative 3/5 will just leave x by itself. I also flip the symbol, and on my right side I have to still divide. I will use KCF. K, I keep the very first fraction, 3 over 20. I change division sign to multiplication sign, and I flip the next fraction, and the next fraction becomes 5 over 3. And remember, this next fraction was a negative fraction. So when you multiply fractions, remember, numerators will multiply with the other numerator, denominators multiply with one another. I can simplify the 3's. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and this 3 divided by 3 is also a 1. They become 1's. I know I can simplify the 5 and the 20, right? 5 1 times is 5. I will say negative 5 because it is negative 5. I will say simplifies to a negative 1. Simplify the 20, and 20 becomes 4. So if you multiply 1 times negative 1, you end up getting negative 1 over 4 times 1 is 4. When you want to write down your answer, you say x is less than negative 1 over 4. Let me see, Victoria, what did you get? Yes, you did get that. Angelina, very good with that. Ben, okay, you still solving that part? Let me know if there are questions. That also works, Ben. You can use decimals. But remember, it is a negative answer. I got negative 1/4. Let me see in my slides and verify. Okay, over here. Yep, negative 1/4. Correct. Yes, Ben, absolutely. I divide by negative 3/5. Layla, thank you for informing me. I'm going to pause here. Let us know if there are any questions. Emiliano has a very interesting question. Are we good to move on? There's one more of these kind of questions. And then we will have some decimal questions. One more fraction question. Okay, let's go ahead and look at this other one. Very good, very good. Most likely, when the question is in fractions, the answer choices will also be in fractions. So if somebody's fluent with decimals, they need to know how to change a decimal answer to a fraction answer. Absolutely, Victoria. So remember, in this one, the question was in fractions. So most likely, the answer choices given in the quiz were in terms of fractions. London, go ahead. Hop on the mic, London. If you divide 20 by a negative number, the answer will be negative. Remember, if you're dividing two numbers that have different signs, the answer will be negative. If you divide two numbers with different signs, the answer will be negative. Here is the third version of question 4. Then why isn't it negative? Let's see. My fraction is negative, Emiliano. You know why? London, look here. I'm going to box it in green, in fact. See, London, I am dividing a positive fraction by a negative fraction. You see? 3 over 20 divided by negative 3/5. And I get a negative answer. Why? Because the two numbers that I am dividing, the two fractions that I am dividing, have different signs. My first fraction is positive. My next fraction is negative. Whatever that is a 20 or a 5 or a 4, whatever that is, generally speaking, positive divided by a negative, answer is negative because the two numbers you're dividing have different signs.
I think he meant like if it's supposed to be negative, then why isn't the 4 and the negative 1/4 negative? Why does it have the negative sign?
It does have a negative sign, Ben. Negative 1/4 in my main answer. Here also it is negative 1/4. I know it looks weird, but there is a negative sign. There's a negative sign. And over here, I have put a negative sign by the fraction 3/5. I can consider it as, if you remember from my past classes, there are 3 different ways I can say that. I can say negative 3/5, right? As a fraction. Then I can also say negative 3 over positive 5. It is the same thing. Then another way I can say positive 3 over negative 5. These are all the different ways I can say it. When I was performing the calculations over here, I tried to keep the negative sign somewhere just so that I know that this fraction ultimately will be a negative 1. Okay. I know there's just a lot of calculations going on and there's a lot of steps going on in this. It is a little hard to understand, but always stop me and pause me. The purpose of this session is to help you guys with these small, small things. We will move on and we will look at one more question. It will definitely have very similar concepts that they will try to test you on. The fractions seem to be smaller and let's see how we can handle it. After this question, I see only decimal questions and it is a good thing. And okay. Number 1, as always, I will identify my constant. Number 2, I will identify my coefficient. Number 3, I will decide if I have to flip the inequality symbol or not. Okay, these are the three things. Go ahead, get started, Venus. Welcome to class. And I'm going to go ahead, identify my constant. Constant is the one without variable. And it is 1/3. I didn't use the right color for constant. I'm trying to use a red one always. The constant is 1/3. And this is the very first thing we will try to undo. I have to undo plus 1/3. I will go ahead, subtract 1/3 from both sides. And I will also subtract from this other side so I can keep the inequality balanced. And now let's see how we can subtract 3/5 minus 1/3. I will make some common denominators. So if I go by threes, I have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. These are my counting by threes. I count by 5, I'll have 5, 10, 15. There we go. The common number is 15. This is the new common denominator. So let's go ahead and see how that will look like here. So the new denominator has to be 15. And how do I get a denominator of 15 for the first fraction? I am multiplying it by 3, right? Here, if you multiply 3/5 by 3, you end up getting a denominator of 15. And so I will also multiply my numerator by 3. 3 times 3 gives me 9. And therefore, I know this has to be 9 over 15. Then minus. So 1/3, and I want a denominator of 15. I am multiplying it by 5. So I will multiply this 3 by 5. It gives me a denominator of 15. That is what I wanted. Same I will do here in the numerator. I will do 1 times 5. And that gives you 5 over 15. Very good, Angelina. You were way faster than that. Ben, very good with that. Patu, welcome to class. I do 9/15 minus 5/15 to get 4/15. And here on my left side, I have 1/3 minus 1/3 gives me 0. And I'm left with negative 1/2 x. To get rid of negative 1/2, I will divide both sides by negative 1/2. Another important thing to notice here, this is the coefficient, negative 1/2. And because coefficient is negative, remember to flip the inequality symbol. I will absolutely flip. So to get rid of this negative 1/2, I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1/2. Negative, then 1/2. It's just so hard to squeeze all these things in here. If you're doing it on paper, I know it is absolutely much more easier. Also divide this side by the negative 1/2. And I missed the symbol. I haven't flipped it yet. I will flip it in the final step. So negative 1/2 x divided by negative 1/2 gives me x by itself, 1x. I flip the symbol and then I divide these two. Let's see how the division works. I will keep the first fraction 4/15. I will change division sign to multiplication sign. And I will flip this fraction and make it 2 over 1. And remember, it is a negative fraction, so we will also keep the negative sign somewhere so we know that the final answer has to be negative. Okay, Ben, let me go ahead and verify if I agree to your answer. Twice of 4/15 is 8/15, and it has to be negative. So you got it right. Ultimately, you're multiplying by a -2. So x is less than, and then multiply your numerator by the other numerator. I will say it is a -2. And you get -8. And 15 times 1 is 15. So -8/15 is the right answer. The value of x has to be less than -8/15. Let us know if there are questions. So these kind of problems are they're teaching you a lot of concepts. You're learning how to do inequalities. You're also practicing how to subtract fractions with different denominators. You're also learning how to divide fractions. You're also learning how to multiply fractions. A lot of rational operations. Yes, Emiliano. Absolutely correct. All those numbers that are less than -8/15 will be the solution. It could be -9/15 also.
I'm not Amelia.
Oh, sorry, Ben. Thank you for fixing me. Absolutely correct. -9/15 work. Yes, Emiliano, I got confused. Emiliano is the one who's trying to give me a lot of those kind of feedbacks, but very good with that. Any questions? Let's go ahead, move on to question 5. This was question 4 that has a lot of fractions, but then we again move on to some decimals. And when I simplified these decimals, these answers are pretty neat. They're not as, complex. And let's go ahead and see. People, go ahead, get started those in Nearpod so we can get these also done and see how we can compete. And you realize that a lot of the times they want to give you a negative coefficient. They're helping you practice so you remember. On my assessments, this is something you can expect, a negative coefficient. Constant coefficient and deciding if you flip or not. Here, constant is plus 5.6. I will write down constant is 5.6. To get rid of this constant, you will undo adding, you will subtract. What you subtract on one side, you will do to the other side. People, go ahead and solve and tell me how much do you get after subtracting. So here, plus 5.6 and minus 5.6 is a 0. And you have negative 2.8x. That should be less than, let me see, very good, Ben. That's exactly true. 2.8. Then you want x by itself. You want to get rid of negative 2.8. That is the coefficient. Here, this is the coefficient, negative 2.8. I will go ahead and write that down here. And the negative coefficient tells me that I have to flip the inequality symbol. And by now, we have looked at it a lot. And I will divide both sides by negative 2.8. See, the inequality was pretty neat. Very good. Excellent, Angelina. Very good, Ben. You took care of all the smaller steps here. And let's go ahead and do that to the other side. And we can say that x, and flip the symbol. So x is greater than a positive number divided by negative number has to be negative. 2.8 divided by 2.8 has to be 1. X has to be greater than negative 1. Can x be 0? Can x be 0? Let's see. Amy says no, x cannot be 0. Nina says yes, x can be 0. So greater than negative 1 is 0 greater than negative 1? 0 is greater than negative 1? Yes, it is. And therefore x can be 0. Right? X can definitely be 0. Let's go ahead, move on, and look at one more. This is question 5. Another decimal problem, but trust me, answers are not so hard and they're pretty simple. It doesn't require a lot of calculation. Go ahead, get started. Let's solve these. I'm going to go ahead, split it into 2 equal parts. So I know what I do to one side, I will also do to the other side. I will also write down some notes. So my constant, my coefficient, and deciding if I have to flip my inequality symbol or not. Let's go ahead and see. My constant is the number that is by itself. I have minus 1.5. The inverse of negative 1.5 or minus is add. To get rid of minus 1.5, I will add 1.5 to both sides. I'm very interested to see how you guys do this. I do see there's some point of confusion that could exist. Ben, good with that. I agree. And I'm going to add 1.5 to the other side. How much is negative 30 plus 1.5? London? Okay, I can give you a little hint with that. Negative 30 means you owe $30. Negative 30 means you owe $30. Plus 1.5 means you deposit 1.5 in the bank, right? Yeah, it is a good thing. Now the bank uses this 1.5 to pay off the debt. After paying this $1.5 off, right? Now you are left with $28.50 of debt with the bank. So probably negative 28.5, right? Like this. Yes, it was a negative 30. Go ahead, Angelina. Okay, Ben got the answer. I agree to you, Ben. Excellent. And here I have the symbol greater than. Minus 1.5 and plus 1.5 is a 0. You have negative 9.5x. I want x by itself. I will divide both sides by negative 9.5. Also note here, the coefficient is negative 9.5. The coefficient is negative 9.5, and that means you will flip the inequality symbol. I divide both sides by negative 9.5. And it was a pretty neat answer. 9.5 3 times gave me 28. Very good, Angelina. 3 times gave you 28.5. A negative number divided by another negative number is positive. Here, negative 9.5x divided by negative 9.5 is 1. So on your left side, you are left with 1x. I flip the symbol. It becomes less than and 3. Any questions? Yeah, he's playing. Any questions? Then the next one is very similar. Tell me if you want to go over it or not. I'm assuming you guys will all be good with it. You want to go over this one, or are you guys good? Let me know. If you guys want, we can go over it. Angelina got started. Ben and others. Do you guys want me to go over this one in detail or not? It is good practice. We can definitely go over it. Let's go ahead and get started. In this way, you will have each and every question done. And it is good practice. Step 1. Now try to practice without the notes. By now that the number of questions that we have done, let's see if we can do. We have a constant that is adding 1.3. Adding, you get rid of it by subtracting. And I will still try to color code. Those who have been following my notes, they follow along. I got mistaken with the previous question, not following color coding. And I will subtract 1.3 from the other side. And I'm going to rely on you guys for my answers. Plus 1.3 minus 1.3 is a 0. And I'm left with negative 4.9x. That has to be greater than 9.8. To get x by itself, I will divide both sides by negative 4.9. And you see how the numbers are so compatible? You divide both sides by negative 4.9. And this other side also by negative 4.9. Because here my coefficient was a negative number, I will flip the inequality symbol. I will say x is no more greater, but it is less than 9.8 divided by 4.2 is 2, Angelina. But a positive number, there you go, divided by a negative number is a negative number because signs are different. X supposed to be less than negative 2. And that marks the last question. Are there any questions? Yeah, most of you guys can hear, right? He's loud. He is a very loud child. Maybe a pause record.